Good evening, everyone. A man dies in a one-car crash along Interstate 86 near Arbon Valley this evening.
Police say two men were driving east in the right-hand lane when the red Honda Civic drifted off the road. The driver overcorrected and rolled the car. Happened about 7 o'clock tonight. The passenger escaped with just cuts and bruises, but the driver was pinned inside. Emergency crews attempted to extricate him while life flight landed on the interstate. The driver, who has not been identified, died before he could be freed. The road had to be closed for a while. It is back open tonight.
Community members gathering tonight at Alameda Park to pack donations for victims of the fire. Bags and bags of clothes passed down an assembly line were packed into a U-Haul. Volunteers also packed books into boxes, and even some of our youngest community members are helping out tonight, donating small bags of dolls for the other kids who lost all of theirs.
Tell us, what was that like?
Yeah, Dan, unfortunately we were, and there was one point yesterday where we were sort of just standing at the edge of that fire watching as it sort of encroached on this one house and just sort of helplessly watching. We couldn't do anything at all. And as I talked to, evacuees and local law enforcement officials yesterday, that feeling of helplessness just sort of permeated everything. Obviously crews were working as hard as they could, but everyone was pushed to the brink, and for those people who were and are displaced, there was nothing that they could do. The fire moved so fast and the flames were so intense that containment,
it's still not contained, 0% contained.
Seemed impossible. Jake Siemens watched the fire with disbelief as it raged down the hillside toward where he lives on Portneuf Road.
I just heard a bunch of sirens and looked outside and saw a huge fire going off.
His stress wasn't for himself, but for his grandparents, Barbara and Homer. They lived near where the fire started, and Siemens couldn't get a hold of them. He didn't know if they had been evacuated, didn't know where they had went.
Kind of freaked out. I don't know what to think. It's scary, and it's just scary for all the homes that are, all the other people.
At times it seemed like the fire was so powerful that the sun couldn't even burn through it, and many people were just resigning themselves to,
I guess, start over.
For David Coffin, who lives up Autumn Lane, there was no escaping that reality.
I'm thinking that probably that quite a few, maybe a few of my friends have lost their homes, and quite possibly myself right now.
And Coffin, like Siemens and so many others, didn't just live up on that hill by himself, but with his whole clan, his loved ones, the people you're supposed to protect when something awful like this happens. But with a fire this strong, all he could do was watch.
My parents live by me, my sister lives by me. If it's up there, it could get any of us. And, I don't wish this on my worst enemy, not at all.
Eyewitness News reporter Jake Taylor is live for us in Pocatello. Jake, I have a feeling this has something to do with today's light rain. What problems are we talking about?
It does have something to do with rain. Those plants that usually hold the soil in place and absorb water, well, they've simply been burned away. Now, light rains shouldn't cause much of a problem, but it may be a very different story once heavy rain starts to fall.
Local News 8's Caleb James live for us tonight on Mink Creek Road near the front lines. Caleb, are the fire crews facing any new challenges tonight?
Well, they are, Carol and Jay. So often after a big event like this, as the shock and the adrenaline starts to wear off, it's that disbelief and emotion that often take its place, and that's what police say they've been grappling with over the weekend. Folks at times even coming into the fire line and trying to influence how firefighters are fighting the fire, telling them where they need to focus. And police say it's happened so often over the weekend it led to 3 arrests.
Tonight she's here with us. Brittany, where do these people even begin?
Todd, that's a great question. And Chris Walker, the woman I met up with today, is taking a pretty big leap. She's restarting her life by rebuilding her home.
Local News 8's Jake Taylor is live in Pocatello. Jake, do you think many people will take advantage of that?
Well, some will, and a few are buying their fireworks right behind me right now. But many others in this area seem a little gun-shy with fireworks this year, and many say that they will simply get their fireworks fix from the city celebrations.
The Ireland Bank on Yellowstone Avenue in Pocatello was robbed around 1 p.m. That's where we find Eyewitness News reporter Marissa Bodner right now live. Marissa, what have you learned there tonight?
Well, Todd, I talked to Lieutenant Paul Manning. He's with Pocatello Police. Just within the last hour, he tells me Pocatello Police heard from a sergeant in Roy, Utah about 6 o'clock tonight saying that a suspect in a bank robbery there matches the man in surveillance video here.
We're going to check in right now with Brittany Borghi, who has been right on the fire line. Brittany, first of all, we were watching live shots just a few minutes ago, and it looked like the fire was flaring up again. Is it?
Carol, you know, I might have a bit of an explanation for those perceived flare-ups that you saw in our live shot coming from Century High School. I just got off the phone with BLM. They say that the fire activity is actually moderating at this point. We have some relatively good news. Containment right now is at 20 to 25%, and crews have been able to establish some dozer lines around the outside of the fire. We know that the wind right now, I can tell you, has died down significantly from earlier this afternoon, and so BLM is saying that reduction in wind has kind of caused the fire to maybe redouble on itself a little bit. So those flare-ups that you might be seeing from our live shot could actually be because the fire has started to move backwards in a south-southeast direction on top of itself. So you may see some increasing intensity, but we know at least that the fire containment, the perimeter of the fire, is starting to be contained. So the fire is still moving a little bit in that northwest direction, but we do know there is some containment, so that is some good news at this point.
Brittany, you said you were up on the hill and you actually, right before your eyes, saw a house burn down?
Yeah, Carol, and I know we've sent up some video, and I'd love to show that if we have the chance. We actually were able to get onto some private properties from some really, really nice people who were right at the edge of Portneuf Road and Mink Creek right there. They let us drive onto their farmland, and from right there we were just literally at the edge of the fire and could see the edge of that fire line just start to creep up around these junipers that were right at the edge of this house and just start to eat away at this house. And fire crews were there. It didn't look like the entire thing burned down, but maybe some of the edges of that house got hit. But fire crews were right there, and there were a couple of houses that we were watching, and planes with flame retardant literally flew just hundreds of feet over our heads.
Brittany, we're just getting to that video right now that shows, I see flames right behind a house there and a fire truck just in front of that. Was that house able to be saved, or did that one burn down?
I think that white and sort of lavender house, that is the one that we believe had caught on fire, or we do not think that completely burned down. Like I said, that one looked like fire crews were able to maybe keep some of those burning junipers away from it, but there may have been some fire that got into that house there. There was another red home right across from us as well, but it looked like the planes were able to put down enough of that retardant line to keep the fire away from that other red house that was there too.
Well, really heroic efforts that saved a bunch of those houses, and our hats off to those firefighters.
All right, thanks, Brittany. We'll check in with you again later.
Brittany, how are things going down there?
Well, there was, some worry that the Charlotte fireworks bans would bring the biggest show in Idaho to a halt. But fortunately, as we learned in our 5 o'clock hour, even victims of the fire urged Phil Meter, the guy who sponsors this whole thing, makes it all happen, to actually come out and put the show on because it is safe, because it is controlled. And Phil, it's pretty exciting to be able to do the show again.
It always is. It's when the day starts, my heart starts racing up like we're getting ready for a big football game. And this is just a great celebration, and we're certainly mindful of the people that lost their homes in the Charlotte fire, and city leaders encouraged us to go forward with the show, and we needed to celebrate, and so that's what we're doing. And with no disrespect to anyone, I hope we've been encouraged by some of the victims of the fires, and so we chose to go forward with it, and they're certainly in our thoughts.
Absolutely. We were talking before the show that it might even bring more people out here because this is a safe place for them to come and enjoy the 4th, right?
This is a wonderful place to enjoy the 4th of July, and it's a lot safer than having things blowing up around your feet, I'll tell you that.
We both had our fair share of fireworks disasters, so thank you so much for putting the show on, for having it go on. How do you feel right now as you look out and see this crowd?
Well, I'm always excited about it. It does my heart a lot of good, and makes you feel warm and fuzzy, and by gosh, it's nice to see people come out, and it's a good old country fashion picnic, and that's what Southern Idaho is all about.
Perfect. Phil, thank you so much. So excited for the show tonight. Can't wait to see it happen. And before that, earlier today, between fighting the fires and evacuating residents, the emergency responders here in Pocatello and Bannock County have done plenty to help those affected by the Charlotte fire. Now they're trying to do more.